Hello, and welcome to Emerald Meadows, your one-stop channel for all things RC and sometimes quilting. Today we're going to talk about the Saturn, from nitroplanes.com. I received this model a few months ago, and I've had a chance to fly it for the last few months, and I've learned some good things and some not good things as to how to make this really one of the best trainers out there. First of all, it's a really good looking plane. I like the style of it. I like the coloring. And I have an earlier version of the Saturn here, and this is the later version I'm working on right now, and we'll talk about the difference. First of all, let's talk about the prop. The prop that comes with this unit is it looks like a glow engine prop. It's really rigid. First thing I did is I replaced the prop with an electric fly prop, a lot more flexible. And the reason for that is when you're coming in hot and you hit the ground or you hit something, this is going to give you some flex, okay? This is going to start tearing apart the front of your plane. And if you're a beginner, odds are you're going to have some landings that aren't really the best. So first thing I did is I changed my prop to an electric fly prop. The motor that comes with it is 860 kV, so it's a pretty slow mover. Definitely the electric prop is going to help with those hard landings because it has a lot of flexibility. The other thing I did with this model is I fixed the front wheel. Okay, you can easily steer this with the rudder. If you're taxiing out in the field, use a rudder. This is, there's not enough strength in the front here to really make this a real steerable aircraft, and you don't need it. I have this fixed in place, it's glued, so that the wheel won't move. This first model had steerable. It was really more problem than what it was worth. So fix this front wheel, remove the linkage. It's going to save your servo, so now your servo is going to work a lot better for your rudder, and it's not going to be trying to pull, unless you have like a super strong servo, you're not going to be trying to steer this as you're moving out. It's kind of cool to have, not necessary for this model. In fact, a lot of times I just throw it in the air. It's a great hand launcher. So remove the fixed front wheel, remove the linkage, and glue this into place. So that's going to save you some time down the road because, again, you're coming in hot. It has a nice spring on the front, so it's going to absorb a lot of energy. But when you're coming in real hard, and I consider myself a fairly good pilot, depends on the wind, depends on when you're coming in, it's always good to have that fixed. The other thing I did is on this earlier plane, the rear mount for the wing. This is the wing, and it gets installed like this. Okay, and there's two little tips here that get clicked in underneath into this front groove, and then two screws that go in the back. On the earlier design, the actual piece of plastic that it's screwed into is only about 3 millimeters from the surface of the foam. That's all the foam that it had to protect it. So what I did was I put in some long threaded screws, and actually I went all the way through the model. I went right through and down to the bottom, and I put in bolts in the bottom. Worked like a charm, not a problem. Kept my wing on really well. However, this here little piece of foam didn't do the job at all. One loop and it popped out. However, the new fuselage, this is the new design of the Saturn, the piece of plastic that's in the foam is about, I'm saying about close to 3/4 of an inch into the foam. So I'm not going to be putting the thread rod all the way through because I think this is actually a better design now. They've made some improvements, and this is number one. The one thing they didn't improve on, though, is at this front tip where the very front of the wing gets clipped into. It's just about a couple of millimeters of plastic that's holding that all in place. So what I did to remedy that is I actually drilled a hole on either side of where the front of the wing clips in, and I put in a coursed machine screw. And I did that simply by drilling in with a small drill and adding a bit of CA to the hole, and then threading it down in. So that you have, that one is didn't glue it in all the way and it's already hard. That's good. You notice on this one here, I had a bit of a breakage and I added 2 screws to the old fuselage, never broke again. So I'm assuming that when you first start to fly and you're doing fairly passive work, it isn't going to be a problem. As a trainer, it's great. But as you start doing barrel rolls and trying to force the plane into certain configurations, this is going to clip off, or again, heaven forbid you should hit an object or a tree or land hard, that's going to break. So these 2 modifications will beef up that wing support quite a bit. Other than that, I really have been, when I first started with it, before I made these modifications, I wasn't as thrilled as I am now, because with my 3-cell battery, I can get about a good solid 12 to 14 minutes of flight time. So what I plan to do, and what I'm going to show in my part 2 video, and I always say I have a part 2 video and sometimes I don't do it, but I will this time. I'm actually going to add FPV gear to this plane because it is such a great flyer. Once I get it up to altitude, I can send this thing out a couple of kilometers and still have a lot of guts to come back. Just make sure that you're not coming back into the wind, because if you get too far away from the field, this is such a light plane, it's going to be hard for it to fly back to the field into the wind. So unless you crank up the power, but then you're going to lose a lot of your battery. So that's my review of the Saturn. I'm going to give this one a buy, but you need to make these modifications in order to, I think, make it really a true trainer. So look forward to part 2, where I'll be talking about adding the FPV gear to this. I love flying FPV, and we'll see how this works. So stay tuned. Talk to you later, and thank you for watching this video, and join and like if you like this video. Thank you very much, and goodbye.